The first tanks on the battlefield weren't made of steel. They were made of flesh and bone. Long before the roar of engines, the thunder of hooves and the trumpeting of massive beasts signaled the arrival of a force unlike any other. War elephants were the original heavy armor of the ancient world, towering above men and horses alike. Their sheer size and power made them the ultimate weapon for kings and generals seeking to dominate the battlefield. Imagine standing in a line of soldiers, your shield trembling as the ground shakes beneath you. The earth itself seems to pulse with the approach of these living juggernauts. Through the dust you see them, creatures as tall as houses, with tusks like swords and skin so thick arrows bounce off. Their eyes burn with a wild intelligence, and their presence is overwhelming. These weren't just animals. They were living siege engines, smashing through enemy lines and spreading terror. Walls and barriers crumbled before their unstoppable advance. Their presence alone could break a soldier's spirit. Even the bravest warriors hesitated when faced with such raw power. The largest males, over 10 feet tall, were trained for years to withstand the chaos of battle. Only the strongest and most disciplined elephants were chosen for war, making them rare and valuable assets. Armored elephants, carrying towers filled with archers and spearmen, became mobile fortresses. From their backs, warriors could rain down arrows and javelins, protected by the elephant's bulk. If elephants broke the enemy's formation, the battle was as good as won. Panic and confusion would ripple through the ranks, turning order into chaos. Their strength cleared obstacles, tore down fortifications, and anchored battle lines. No other force could match their ability to reshape the flow of battle. Horses panicked at their sight, making cavalry useless. Even the best-trained mounts would bolt in terror, leaving riders helpless. From India to the Mediterranean, war elephants became the ultimate symbol of military might. Their legend spread across continents, inspiring awe and fear wherever they marched. To face them was to confront one of history's most terrifying weapons, a living force of nature that changed the fate of empires. In 326 BC, Alexander the Great faced what would become his most daunting and dangerous challenge yet, a test not just of his military genius, but of his courage and adaptability as a leader. On the banks of the mighty Hydaspes River, in the heart of India, his army prepared for a confrontation unlike any they had seen before. King Porus awaited him with 200 massive war elephants, the core and pride of his defense towering above the battlefield and striking fear into all who saw them. The Macedonian veterans, hardened by years of relentless campaigning, were visibly shaken by the sight of these armored giants. These elephants, their tusks sharpened and clad in metal, stood as a living, impenetrable wall, an obstacle unlike any other in ancient warfare. Alexander knew that a direct frontal assault would be suicide. His famous phalanx, so effective against men, would be crushed underfoot by these beasts. Thinking quickly, he devised a bold new plan. Use his cavalry to outflank Porus's lines, and send his most agile light infantry to target the elephants directly, disrupting their formation. Their orders were clear and daring. Aim for the mahouts, the drivers who controlled the elephants and wound the elephants' legs and trunks, hoping to turn the beasts into a liability for Porus. The battle quickly descended into chaos, men clashing with monsters, the ground shaking beneath the charge of elephants. The elephants trampled and gored, causing horrific casualties and spreading terror through the ranks. For a moment, it seemed Porus's elephants would win the day, their sheer power overwhelming Alexander's men. But as the mahouts fell, the elephants panicked, rampaging through friend and foe alike, turning the tide of battle in a wild, uncontrollable frenzy. Alexander's disciplined troops, seizing the moment, surrounded the exhausted beasts and brought them down with coordinated attacks. Victory came at a high cost, and Alexander later admitted, without his flanking maneuvers and the bravery of his men, the elephants would surely have defeated him. The battle proved that even the greatest general could be humbled by the raw power and unpredictability of war elephants. Their psychological and physical impact was unmatched, leaving scars on the minds of those who survived. In the end, Alexander's victory was as much about adapting to the unprecedented threat of the elephants as it was about tactics, proving that true greatness lies in the ability to change and overcome the unknown. Ancient generals craved any edge in battle, always searching for a way to tip the scales in their favor. The war elephant was the ultimate shock weapon, massive, intimidating, and nearly unstoppable when unleashed on the battlefield. A 10-ton elephant could shatter a tightly packed phalanx, sending enemy soldiers scattering and creating crucial gaps for infantry to exploit. Their mere presence could neutralize enemy cavalry. Horses, unaccustomed to the sight and smell of elephants, often panicked and refused to charge. Commanders used elephants as mobile command posts, riding high above the chaos to gain a clear view of the battlefield and inspire their troops with their imposing presence. From atop an elephant, a general could direct the flow of battle, issue orders, and rally his men, making quick decisions as the fight unfolded. Elephants were also invaluable for logistics, hauling supplies, tearing down gates, and moving siege equipment that would have been impossible for men or horses alone. Their versatility made them a multi-purpose tool, useful from the long march to the siege, to the decisive clash at the heart of battle. Owning war elephants meant having a weapon, a symbol of power and prestige, and a logistical asset all in one awe-inspiring package. No wonder they were so highly prized by rulers and feared by their enemies. Their ability to break enemy formations and terrify cavalry changed the face of ancient warfare, forcing new tactics and strategies. For centuries, the side with elephants often held the advantage, their presence alone sometimes enough to decide the outcome before swords were even drawn. They were the ancient world's ultimate force multiplier, amplifying the strength and morale of any army lucky enough to have them. It's no surprise that every ambitious general, from Alexander to Hannibal, wanted these living tanks in his arsenal, symbols of might, tools of war, and legends in their own right. The war elephant's greatest weapon was fear. For soldiers who'd never seen such beasts, the shock was overwhelming. The trumpeting call, the shaking ground, and the sight of comrades trampled or tossed through the air shattered morale. Commanders exploited this terror, holding elephants in reserve to unleash at the decisive moment. The sudden appearance of elephants could turn victory into rout. Their reputation alone sometimes caused armies to surrender or desert. Elephants became tools of diplomacy and intimidation, not just war. A king with elephants could often win without fighting. Their psychological impact shaped politics as much as battlefields. The fear they inspired radiated across borders. In the ancient world, elephants were the ultimate symbol of power. Facing war elephants was terrifying, but ancient armies adapted. Instead of meeting them head-on, soldiers opened their ranks, letting elephants charge through lanes, then attack their flanks. Targeting the mahout, the driver, was key. A panicked elephant could wreak havoc on friend and foe alike. Romans even invented tools to pull mahouts from their perches. Noise and fire were powerful weapons. Horns, drums, and even flaming pigs sent elephants into chaos. Roman legions developed heavy javelins and disciplined formations to withstand elephant charges. Specialized troops isolated and surrounded the beasts. The testudo shield formation protected against archers in the towers. Over time, no weapon remained unbeatable. Human ingenuity always found a counter. The elephant's reign as an unstoppable force was ended by adaptation and discipline. Warfare evolved, and so did its solutions. No tale of war elephants is more famous than Hannibal's crossing of the Alps. In 218 BC, Hannibal led his army and dozens of elephants over treacherous, icy peaks to surprise Rome. The journey was brutal, narrow paths, freezing weather, and hostile tribes claimed many lives. Elephants, unsuited for the cold, suffered terribly. Only a handful survived the ordeal. Yet their arrival in Italy stunned the Romans, who never expected an invasion from the north. At the Battle of the Trebia, Hannibal's surviving elephants helped secure a crushing victory. Their presence added to Hannibal's legend and terrified Rome's allies. But the harsh Italian winters and lack of care meant the elephants soon perished. By Cannae, only one remained, Surus, Hannibal's personal mount. The Alpine crossing proved elephants could be war-winning assets, but also revealed their vulnerability. They were powerful, but not invincible. Hannibal's gamble changed history, but at great cost. The legend of his elephants endures as a symbol of ambition and audacity. Carthage made the war elephant its military signature, using the now extinct North African forest elephant. These smaller, agile elephants became feared weapons in the Punic Wars. Early on, Romans were unprepared. At the Battle of Tunis, a line of 100 elephants crushed the Roman center. This forced Rome to rethink its tactics and view elephants as a superweapon. But reliance on elephants became a weakness as Romans adapted. At Zama, Scipio Africanus opened lanes in his ranks, letting Hannibal's elephants charge harmlessly through. Roman skirmishers attacked from the sides, neutralizing the threat. The defeat at Zama ended Carthage's elephant corps and broke their psychological hold over Rome. Rome banned Carthage from ever using elephants again. The age of the Mediterranean war elephant was over. The war elephant's influence began in India and spread across Asia and Africa. In India, elephants were central to warfare for over 1,000 years, symbolizing royal power and deciding countless battles. The practice spread east to Southeast Asia, where kingdoms like the Khmer Empire used elephants in epic campaigns. In Thailand and Burma, elephant duels between kings decided wars. In Africa, Egypt and Kush maintained elephant corps, leading to an arms race with Persia's Indian-sourced elephants. At the Battle of Raphia, Asian and African elephants clashed in a rare showdown. For centuries, elephants were living symbols of power, shaping empires and altering history. Their strength was harnessed for conquest, but their legacy is also one of exploitation. The ground once shook with their tread, and their story echoes across continents. The era of the war elephant faded as armies adapted and new weapons emerged. Disciplined troops learned to counter elephants with tactics, noise, and fire. The arrival of gunpowder sealed their fate. A cannonball could do what no spear could. Elephants became vulnerable targets on the noisy, deadly battlefield. In India and Southeast Asia, they lingered as command platforms and symbols of prestige. But their days as shock troops were over. The war elephant became a relic, a legend of a time when flesh and bone ruled the battlefield. Their story is a dramatic chapter in the history of warfare. They were the original titans, and their memory endures. Thanks for joining this journey into ancient military history. Subscribe for more stories from the battlefields of the past.